It's quite a wheel there, Stephen.
Absolutely. Those Victorians were really clever at exploiting what was around, and they wouldn't let anything past. So this is basically built out of making a big hole in the ground, moving the stones down here, building a mill, putting a wheel on it. The hole in the ground fills up with water, the wheel goes around, and so for nothing they could grind their corn. And we're essentially doing the same kind of thing in a more modern context. I live here with my wife and dog and lots of rare breed animals. We live on this small farm, and you're here to talk about our interest in energy and community energy, but one context is that here energy for us is essentially a crop. We've made sure that energy is no threat to us economically. We obviously take climate issues seriously, but also the cost issues are important. So we manage our energy here from our wind turbine, PV, solar thermal, and using local biomass. And that is really the context of what we're trying to do in our locality. We managed to do that on our small scale, and it seems completely unjust and unacceptable that others cannot benefit in the same way, because there's absolutely no need for our local town to be spending £10 million per year through its fuel bills when it's surrounded by such extraordinary renewable resources. There's no need for people to have to choose between being cold and being hungry in this extremely wealthy country at a time when there's never been greater wealth available. And it just seems that we should get a grip on these things. So the organisation that I'm involved in, I'm the chair of the board of directors of WREN, which is the Wadebridge Renewable Energy Network. The purpose of it is to be optimistic and forceful to make sure that the dysfunction of our centralised energy arrangements don't undermine the quality of life and resilience of people around here. And we've chosen this acronym by chance initially, but the wren actually is a very appropriate symbol. The wren is an extremely small bird, but it's very noisy and it's very territorial. And so our basic model here is what we refer to as the locality model. And it's about each locality taking as much responsibility as it can for all aspects of sustainability, but particularly focusing on energy. And interestingly, the answer not only is in the idea of locality, but it's in the word. Within the word locality is an energy symbol, the calorie, which is simply the measure of 1 degree centigrade for 1 cc of water. And we see within each locality the chance to take responsibility, control, and not be passive about the threat of abuse of energy and abuse of climate. And we have now over 750 paid up members of what is a company, it's a co-op, and that's not enough. There are some 3,500 households in the town, so we want everybody to belong, but it's a start to have 750 people actually fill in a form and pay their £1. And that means that when things are happening, people know about it, and then we've just tried to make sure that some of the opportunities that are there are made available to people. So one modest example, we are now at the end of a period when subsidised loft and cavity wall installation has been made available as part of the obligation on the Big Six particularly. There are now large profits being made from the end of that scheme by installers. So what WREN has done has placed itself between those companies and the people of Wadebridge and essentially done a profit share, so that people now do have free cavity wall and loft installation. Also, money goes into the community fund, and each person who signs up to the scheme is given 25 WRENs, which is the local currency, which is currently on parity with the pound, and it's not clear which one will actually go up and go down in the future. I think there's more, I'd back the WREN rather than pound sterling, but it's an example of the ways that one can enter into the energy market in ways that benefit the locality.
So in terms of energy generation, Stephen, what is WREN involved in?
So over the last, we've only been going for 1 year, and we are working on WREN-owned large-scale generation projects. Those take time, and we are quite close to large-scale PV, and we are working on large wind. In the first year of functioning, most of the generation came from essentially a buying club facilitating people's access to technologies. For example, in terms of solar PV, some 350 kilowatt was installed through WREN on local roofs. We've collaborated with larger scale projects with landowners. We're facilitating solar thermal, we're facilitating biomass boiler installations. So we're essentially helping people pay a bit less for things that will help them, and nothing we do is allowed to happen unless it benefits the community, because we are a co-op. So we facilitate people having their own generation facilities from trusted suppliers, and we bring money from that into our community fund. And interestingly, the way renewables are set up at the moment, they benefit people with capital. So it is a regressive economy in renewable energy, which is exactly the opposite of what we seek. So when our community fund offer was made available, people in the town could vote on what projects they should support. People could apply to the fund, and then members voted on the suitable recipient. People voted for the food bank as the main recipient, and that's an indication of the way that this kind of co-op can turn what is a regressive economy into a progressive one, where the benefits can flow to those who really need support.